Let's break the mold and stop waiting for the other shoe to drop. Welcome to Stanley on 7. We're here until it's here.
Welcome back to Stanley on 7th. I'm here with the host, John King. I'm Ryan Carter. This is your favorite Wild podcast, a Pull Tab Sports production. We got a lot to unpack today, Kinger. The exhibition season winding down. What are your thoughts so far?
Well, I watched last night. We beat Chicago, and a lot of things to discuss. Which one of the beautiful babies is gonna be brought home in swaddling clothes? Which kid gets to stare at the pig spinning in front of Lake Superior in Duluth? Maybe none of them. Maybe none of them make the trip. I don't know. But I'll start with the way our defense was activated. So the goose is loose.
Goose was loose?
The goose is loose. This guy, I think he was behind the goal line half the game. It was unbelievable. And Dumba does the same thing. So is that going to be how we play? It's almost like Pee-wee hockey. Like one of the D pair, they're like, hey, do whatever the hell you want. Then the other D pair, they're like, make sure nothing bad happens.
I think there is probably going to be some of that. Evason's always kind of given those guys the green light to jump up. I mean, if you look at the forwards, aside from Kaprizov and those guys, and I'm not throwing shade on any of them, they're not like wizards in the offensive zone. They can play, they can compete, but if you're going to score off the rush and do some things, I think that like Evason knows he wants to get the fourth guy going and maybe sometimes the fifth guy going in the play too. It worked last night. I think they know that they got to try to find a way to outnumber guys up the ice. So yeah, absolutely, there's going to be, and I don't necessarily think it's just going to be Goligoski. I think on that pair, Spurgeon likes to jump up too. And maybe that's part of the reason why that was the lure. Alt with suits in with Goligoski. You've got two guys that can jump up and two guys that can stay back. Pretty responsible guys back there. On the other side, I think it's going to be more Brodin sits back. Although sometimes I think he has some untapped offensive potential where it's just like you keep waiting for him, you keep patting him on the back saying, let's go, let's try this out. But maybe it's just Dumbs that's his role jumping up in the play.
Yeah, preseason hockey's weird, right? So if you're playing at home, all the big boys play. If you're on the road, your big boys stay home.
Right.
So I don't know. I guess NFL preseason's similar in that you don't really know anything until the season starts. But the thing I wanted to ask you is, I noticed these long passes, these breakout passes, sauce from the D, sending guys, and then really seeing defensemen on the wall, on the goal line, contributing. I'm curious how activated our D will be. I hope a lot, because I think we're going to need it, like you said, to kind of compensate our forwards a little bit.
Yeah, I think, again, a lot of times those stretch passes, we saw a lot of breakaways last night.
Tons.
Yeah, and the night prior. Those will get cleaned up real fast when the regulars show up.
When Seth Jones is there going, no.
Yeah, and not only that, like if you get, it's usually on the forward. So if you get a D-man like Dumbs last night sent Foligno in on a breakaway on a controlled breakout, unbelievable sauce pass, great camera angle. That's on the forward. That forward in front of the net can't let that passing lane be wide open like that. And those things get cleaned up, and you find that space and those plays when those young guys don't know, like those tiny little details. It's not something they're thinking about. Every once in a while they'll get sprung, but I think more often than not, if we're trying those long stretch passes, it's going to be a 50-50 play, see what happens. But the D are going to, in terms, if you're looking at D core, I think Minnesota's is for sure going to be upper echelon of the league in terms of points and goal scoring compared to the team. Like they're going to factor into a lot of the offense. And part of that is because that's their system. Jump up, let's go. And they're kind of leaders on that front.
Tell me about the third pairing. I know you just killed me last season on this. Who is it? Should we be excited about it? Should we be worried about it? Clearly this top four has a whole bunch of stuff going on, but who's it going to be? Or is it going to be like four guys playing two spots? Or what is the third pairing?
That's a good question. The top four is clearly set. It's Goligoski and Spurgeon and then Dump and Brodin. And then there's maybe four guys 4 guys playing 4, 5, and 6, and you've got Johnny Merrill, Dmitry Kulikov, Jordy Ben, and Kalen Addison, right? And
So here's how much I know about this. Addison's got this amazing mustache that looks like...
is it amazing, though?
It is, because it's so low on his lip. It reminds me of like guys from black and white films,
Sure.
like noir. I know that my group text was extremely upset at Jordy Ben this week, calling him has been, all this, I mean, it was, I don't know what he did. I missed the game. I'm sure you saw it. And then the one guy was the Russian we signed when we wanted to sign the other Russian, right?
Right.
And then I know nothing about Merrill, besides a Key and Peele video. Like, give me a little nugget on each of these guys.
Well, okay, so I played with both these guys, Johnny Merrill and Dmitry Kulikov. So they've been around a little while. I played with Johnny Merrill in New Jersey. Good guy. I think he's underrated in his skating ability. He's good. He can play. He's got a bigger body, but I just don't know how physical he's going to be. Billy has said that he likes that. He wanted to add some size.
So the bottom pair is just supposed to be our just 2 big D.
Well, kind of big D. I think what you want is you want some physicality. You look at the top 4. You've got Galagat. I don't think there's a guy over 200 pounds in the top 4. It might even be under 190. Like they're not the biggest guys. And when you get out there against some of these big forwards, Mark Stone, and you go across the board in the West here, they might get pushed around out front. Mm-hmm. So every once in a while, you want somebody that can be mean and can scare you a little bit in front of the net. And these guys, I think they're hoping they fit that mold. I don't know if that's the case. The unfortunate part is that probably the toughest and most natural, heavy kind of player of that group is Jordy Ben.
For sure.
And unfortunately, what we saw in the exhibition game.
So what did he do? Do you know what they would have been? Why was my phone going?
Okay, well, so the game started off terribly.
The 3-0. So he was out there when all that was happening. Okay.
2 of them. So one of them, kind of a misread in front, got lost in his own end. And that can happen. A new system, new players, young guys, make a wrong read, not a big deal. The other team scores. That can happen. It just looked bad. And then all of a sudden, the next one, again, he was going around the net. He's looking up the ice for somebody to break. And this wasn't his fault either. I feel bad for him. He's looking up for somebody to pass it to. Somebody's got to work to get there for him. You got to see the highlight. There was no wild sweaters in there.
And what does he just eventually unload it to the other team?
Well, no, he looks up and he's like, oh, shit, I got nothing. There's nobody here. So then it just froze.
Yeah.
And then the forechecker came, took the puck off, threw it in front of the net, and it was an easy goal, right? Like a tap in. And I don't blame him. Like, in some regards, like you play in the NHL, the last thing you want to do is be one of those guys that just sends it around the wall. Yeah. Like you want to try to make a play, but there was nobody there. So he's kind of hung out to dry. But it looked bad. Right, it looked bad, and now there's obviously question marks on can he play in his own end? Yeah, you want him to be mean, and he looks tough, and he's got a legit beard. By the way, that bottom pair is going to have it could be the all facial hair team right there.
Is it Merrill? Who's the other guy?
Merrill's got a greasy little duster too. Okay, Kalen Addison's.
Yep.
Right, and we've talked about the confidence that a guy like that must have to walk into an NHL room with 17 hairs on his upper lip.
It stays on. I mean, he doesn't, and it's almost like the mustache is growing out of his lip.
The lip, so the hairs grow up,
not the space. Down. Exactly, not this. And there was a guy, like a famous actor. I'd have to think of who it was that had that same thing. So give me a bumper sticker on each of these D. Okay. Obviously, puck-moving defenseman with Addison with the Caterpillar. It sounds like Jordy Ben is kind of William Wallace, big, half his face is painted, and he's going to protect us at his best. He's going to be our kind of Thor,
right?
Back there. Merrill and Kulikov, what's a bumper sticker on these 2 guys to know?
I think they're really kind of the same player. Kulikov, Russian guy, but he's really North Americanized, right? Like normal. He can skate well, and I think for him, what we're gonna find is that we're gonna love him some nights, and then we're going to have the opposite feeling other nights. He's going to play really well and do some things and jump into play, and he's going to be like, man, this guy deserves more minutes. And there's going to be other times where you're like, what is he doing? Where's he going? And Johnny Merrill again too. He's a good player. He's not heavy. He's bigger. He's taller. Again, I think he's a sneaky good skater. He can make some plays. But I think for him again, it's consistency. Like he'll make 8 good plays, and then there'll be 2 where it turns it over and it's in the back of your net. You know, where the difference between that and a top 4 guy is they just don't make those bad 2 plays, right? And
so Merrill, you almost want to not notice him.
Yeah, and that's what. So I played with the guy Mark Fain, and this was in New Jersey with Johnny Merrill, and we'd be talking. Fain was like, "Hey, Carts, you noticed me tonight?" And I was like, "I'll be honest with you, Fainer, I didn't." He goes, "I had a good game, then."
That's perfect.
Yeah, you don't want to notice him.
It's like an offensive lineman.
Yeah. You didn't notice me? I had a great game. Fantastic.
I love it. I want to talk about skating a little bit because you mentioned it. So I'm big into these surf documentaries. Anything, if there's a surfing documentary, I watch it. And even though I'm from Minnesota and I can't surf, but there's a surfer named Kai Lenny. Okay. And he's a big wave surfer. So he does tow in, they pull him in a jet ski. And historically, these guys just try to hang on to those waves because they're so big. You just stand on them and hope like hell you don't fall down. This guy's the first guy that's so flashy. He actually does flips down the big waves, almost like a skateboarder. So he's jumping and doing 360s on these waves that are 100 feet high. So it started with the Russian, with this Mohawk situation. I literally think guys on the team are like Dumba's skating differently now. Everybody's got a little.
Yeah.
It's like we're all. It would be like a peewee team that noticed that their star, his legs are. It's like he's a frog being dissected in every game because he's in the Mohawk. And now I'm just seeing so much wiggle, so much Mohawk on this team. Are you noticing like I think we're legitimately skating different as a team?
Yeah, I think
swagger wise.
Maybe it's swag, but I noticed Fiala doing the Mohawk last night a couple of times. No, it's like, wow, these guys are all doing it now. And I think it worked for Fiala a couple of times.
I want us to double down on it. I want Mohawk merch. I want wine stoppers with, guys with their legs like this. I want pizza cutters. I want 20 different things. I think this should be how we skate.
The Mohawk.
Yeah, I want us to be like this. It's like we've unlocked something in a video game where our guys can move differently. Because, there was a shift last night. You guys replayed it where Kirill was just, you couldn't get the puck from him. And I could hear the crowd. I don't know what the crowd was like last night, but I could just hear the, like people just kind of being so excited to watch this.
Right. No, I know. He made a couple good plays. I talked about on the broadcast too. Like he's not afraid to play and hold the puck in super dangerous spots, right? Like he's got no pulse, but he executes all the time. And when that starts to happen, you do sense like something exciting's about to happen. He's about to beat this guy, and it's coming. And that happened a couple times last night. Once he tried to go end to end. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
He tried to wind it up. Boom. He's one guy short. Yeah. One guy short of pulling it off. But,
and that line was just, they were just dominant.
Right.
It was awesome.
We had Billy Guerin in the booth, and I tried to ask him, like, what makes this line so good? And it's easy to talk about how, and he made a good point. He's like, hey, the good thing is we have Ecker in front of the net, and he'll shoot the puck a little bit because these other two guys, they want to pass it to each other until they pass it in the back of the net. Accidentally one guy goes behind, he tries to pass it, goes in. But yeah, no, Eck he's going to score a lot of goals just sitting in front of that net waiting for it. And it's going to be fun to watch, but I think that's the recipe. A big guy that can win battles. Billy Guerin talked about that too, like that Kaprizov and Zuccarello are probably happy to be playing with Ecker, not the other way around. Like you think Eck sometimes as a third line forward or a third line center on a good team, maybe a second line center. But these guys are excited to play with him because you can just count on what he's going to do. He wins all the battles. And then when he wins these battles, he's just going to get you the puck. And then these guys can just go play with it. They end up shooting it and he'll be there for it.
And he's right in the snot bubble. That goal was so great. He actually pulled it back and just flipped it in like he was bored.
Right.
And you saw, again, everybody hates Eriksson Ek. I mean, the one thing with Zook and the Russian is they're going to be in some scrums because people cannot stand how hard this guy plays. And they just go after him. So they're going to have to be like defending him or getting in the mix with him because it's going to be a lot of stinky gloves and faces.
Well, I'm kind of excited to see that too because Zuccarello, he's kind of cagey and he's got some grit to him too. So I'm curious to see what happens in these scrums. Does he go for the rear naked choke? I think he's one of those guys that comes in and grabs the big guy from behind the stinky glove or, maybe cuts out that calf, the Achilles tendon there and stings him a little bit and then skates away real quick or what it looks like.
What was your specialty if you were, so let's say you were really upset and you're in a scrum, close quarters though, and no one can really see what you're doing. What were some of your top moves to just really dole out some pain?
Yeah, it probably was the glove to the face, but I would go right for the punch. I wouldn't try the stinky glove and pretend like I didn't do it. I would try to get my money's worth and
punch him with the glove on.
Yeah,
just a hit into the face.
Yeah, quick jab, hard as you can, boom, boom, up and down, fast as you can. Then they get all mad at you. Then they come at you, you're like, whoa, what? But that was probably it, or the full takedown. If you can get the full takedown.
And what was did you cross check on like the waistline or what was your move to get him on the ground?
No, like the wrestle. You take him by the jersey and like a full takedown to the ice. You see it sometimes and then the art is in like dropping the hand at the right time. So you only have him by one and you look like you're just pulling him off the pile. But purposely you're tossing him to the ice and then.
Well, Wilson did it to Panarin last year. I was just shocked how strong that guy was.
Yeah, he's got farm strength.
He's a big boy.
Right.
He's a big boy.
Well, geez, you think about that. It's crazy how reactionary the NHL can be because you see what they did because of that single play last year.
Is that the no cross-checking rule, the whole thing, or which one?
No, so the Rangers go out and they get Ryan Reeves. Yeah. They trade for Ryan Reeves just because Tom Wilson threw Panarin to the ice.
And don't they play on opening night? Did I make that up? Or
I'm not sure if they play on opening night.
I want to say they play the first game of the season. I don't know, but that's man. I think Wilson will fight Reeves. He'll stand up and do it.
So Tom Wilson's probably the second toughest guy in the league, and when he's on the ice and Ryan Reeves isn't on the ice, he's tough and he's mean and he's cocky.
And you can play him a lot more than Reeves.
Right. But when Reeves is on the ice, Wilson's like a little turtle. Goes
really?
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. Right into his shell. Like, I don't want anything to do with this. It's pretty remarkable, actually.
Well, he's going to have to fight him the first game because of the Panarin thing by the code.
Yeah, I
think so. Unless he doesn't, maybe he just doesn't even care about that.
I'll actually tune in for that because technically Reeves wasn't a part of the Rangers when that happened. Now I know they go out and trade him for that very reason, and he's a smart guy, knows his role. So maybe he goes out and challenges him. But yeah, I'll tune in to see if they fight on the. Is it going to be an opening draw? Why is it always the Rangers fighting on the opening draw?
I'm checking to see if this is true. Keep talking.
Yeah. So the other things that stood out last night, again, a nugget on Johnny Merrill, because I think we're going to like this guy as a person. He's unbelievable. I was doing a game and I was between the benches, which Bally, we don't get to do very much. And it was against Vegas. He was playing with Vegas at the time. And he just wraps his head right around the stanchion. He goes, hey, Ryan. It's like, hey, right in the middle, like right in the middle of the broadcast. You remember me? And I was like, and he was serious. He's like,
we played together.
Yeah.
Remember New Jersey?
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, I got it. Yeah. It's in my notes.
For sure. I was like, yeah, I remember you. Yeah, I do.
So he's just a sweetheart?
Yeah, great guy. Super laid back, fun. He's a lot of fun. Good sense of humor. One more Johnny Merrill story, because this one I love. Anthony LaPanta, he's perfect. Just ask him. But when Johnny Merrill was playing in New Jersey, I forget the name that LaPanta was calling him, but it was the wrong name. Like, it was the wrong person for 3 periods. And I caught it in the first period, but I let LaPanta just keep calling him the wrong name all night. And by the end of it, I tell the producer, I said, hey, check on this. Panther keeps calling him like Murphy, and his name's Merrill. It's a completely different person. And boom, the truck caught onto it, and it was unbelievable because LaPanta will tell you all day long about how perfect he is at everything, makes no mistakes in the broadcast, and we let him hang for 3 periods calling a guy the wrong name. He couldn't backpedal. It was the best.
He made a mistake last night.
He did?
Yeah.
Well, tell me about it. This is my favorite.
So unless the Chicago Blackhawks have a player also named Cole Dock, which maybe they do, they have a Cole Dock and a Kirby Dock?
Colton and Kirby, they're brothers.
Fuck.
See, I told you, he's perfect.
I was watching, sitting there going, God, his name is Kirby Dock.
I have to
Two
give
brothers on the team, both.
Yeah, they were both drafted. I have to give him credit though. Okay, so you mentioned this. The exhibition games, the road team, it's kind of comical. I mean, you've never heard of 75% of the guys.
Yeah, like the anthem singers playing.
Right. Like you have no idea who they are. We get the lineup, no stat packs, nothing. I have no clue who these people are. LaPanta goes out there and he nails it right off the bat. Numbers, style, everything. He came up from like the golf course, nothing. Just looks at a stat sheet, looks at their name, their number, boom, goes.
Just a lot of prep work or what?
Well, usually he does do a lot of prep work, but for these preseason games, now he's been doing it for a long time, but he can just pick it up in a hurry. He's get the pronunciations down. He knows who it is. I got to give him credit. He is good.
So you sent me a video today, and I might have watched it while I was driving here. Driving in the car, I watched it. It's called Beyond Our Ice, episode 1. Is that correct?
Beyond Our Ice, yeah, it's a internal series from the Wild. It's great.
Okay, so now that there is the first 3 minutes of it's only about 5 minutes long. The start of this thing, I wanted to get out of my car and start running.
Right.
Or like they got this violin track on it, and basically it's Billy Guerin saying. It's essentially why we're doing the podcast, which is people used to come to Minnesota to raise their families in good school districts and play hockey. And Guerin's like, no, you come to Minnesota to win. And the fact that he was talking about the Stanley Cup in the first 2 minutes of this series for a team that we don't even know how good they're going to be, but the fact that he's actually talking about the elephant in the room. Minnesota, the state of hockey, has never won the Stanley Cup. And I feel like we don't even talk about it. It's not like it's unbelievable. I mean, it's like, the English with all the problems they've had with soccer.
Yeah.
I mean, it should be a bigger deal. Like, anyone who talks to us should be like, you're the state of hockey, but you've never won the cup?
Yeah.
What? And I love that whole thing he did. I think Spurgeon says, he says,
oh, he set him up.
I think he says, why are we here? And I think Spurgeon says to fucking win, but they bleeped it. I think that's what I think he said. I was like punching the ceiling of my truck driving, watching this.
It gets you razzed up for sure. And I think you're right. Like, I think a lot of times as the state of hockey, we like to talk about the process of winning and maybe what we need to do to win. But I don't think we ever talk about the expectation.
Yeah.
And the expectation should be that you should win. Right? Like, no, we're not here for some process. There is a process, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to win.
And this team, of all teams, has ignored the elephant in the room for a long time.
Yeah.
Whether it's here's a little song to sing, here's a kid at center ice, here's a banner for the fans, here's pour some water from your hometown lake onto. I mean, it's always been kind of about, the state of hockey more so than the expectation of Stanley. And I think there's a huge poster of the Stanley Cup maybe in that team room, because at the last shot, when this 3 minute, I mean, you want to watch some hockey porn. If you're a Wild fan, I would turn up the music as loud as you can with this.
Just put yourself in a quiet room, turn it off.
This violin,
lights down,
dropkick Murphy, weird Billy Guerin yelling. It is. I was like, yes. I'm not afraid to stare at the thing that we want so badly.
Right.
And the fact that, because there was 2 interesting things in the video. One was this renewed expectation on being a champion, which I don't know that we've ever had as an organization. The second thing was clearly culturally with the selection of these assistant captains. It was just beneath the surface. They're saying, we had a problem in the locker room. We're not going to get into what it was, but now everyone has a voice. There's no pecking order. There's no hierarchy and cliques and groups. It's team first, and we're all together.
Yeah. What I'll say is, I don't think they were saying I was in that room for a while. I don't think that it's fair to say there was a problem in that room. What I think is fair to say is that room had been the same for a long time, and that experiment was no longer yielding fruit, right? So and I think that there was probably some guys pulling against or swimming against the current, but that's not abnormal. That happens in every single room. It's going to happen in that room this year, right? Like, it happens. Guys don't get what they want. And, as much as your teammates and you're all pulling in the right, you think you're going in the right direction. Some guys aren't going to be happy sometimes. They're going to lose minutes. I mean, you look last night, Jordan Greenway, Duhaime had a better game the night before, and Greenway on his line, when he goes up to the rink in the morning and he sees Duhaime in his spot, he should be upset. Right? He should be. And that's normal. So it's not, I don't think that there was like necessarily a problem, but yes, I think that now it's a new experiment and a new thing, and there's a new culture and a new mantra being set. And what I liked about the video too is Billy set it up, and he set it up with his captain. Right? Yeah. And he wasn't afraid to say, no, you were wrong too. Actually, the way he phrased it was, Spurge, why are we here? And Spurge goes, to play hard and have fun. Or to that effect, like to compete and to have fun. And Billy goes, no, we're here to win. This is all about winning. And Spurge kind of gave a smile, and you can feel it, like you said. Then the music drops, and you're like, wow, this is sweet.
It was great, and I like that he calls him Spurgey. Spurgey spends a lot of time in those Jason Sudeikis hoodies where they're like light peach. Yeah. Like I think he's such an interesting guy because he kind of looks like the dude from Blue's Clues. Like, I picture Spurgey in like a huge rocking chair, like 5 times bigger than him, like after games. But seeing him kind of embrace finish Guerin's sentence to be like, I'm the captain. I understand that big 37-pound silver thing is what we're all playing for. Right. And let's go get it. Oh, man, I was ready to run through a wall. Yeah.
No, he set an expectation. That's not abnormal either. Every team I've played on, you get a speech from the general manager with everybody in camp. And, I mean, you saw the room. It was full. Yeah. There wasn't an open seat in the place. And actually, there was more people than seats. And you have a speech, but Billy's good at it. Like, he owns a room when he walks into it. And he puts people on the spot like he did as captain. And that gets everybody's attention right off the bat. You got Greenway, too. Greenway, why am I wearing a suit?
Yeah.
Why am I wearing a suit?
Because it's hockey season.
It's hockey season.
Well, the other thing is Dean Evason, is he terrifying? Like, so last night he's wearing this light blue suit, which was super weird. And, but you contrast it with, like, when he first got the job, someone was like, Creed from The Office is coaching the Wild, right? But now when I watch him, like, he seems scary as hell. Is he that hard where, like, the dudes are kind of like, or is he like boys with and they don't see him as, he just seems so damn intense. I can't believe it.
Yeah, no, it's that's funny. It's the opposite.
Really? Yeah. So he's like a friend to them, players, coach, they all love him.
Yeah.
But aesthetically, if you look at this guy, it's like laser beam eyes, like he's like Terminator, crawling behind your car with just his torso.
That's one thing I'm looking forward to seeing this year. I think last year Dean had some stuff to prove to the guys, right? And he had these things that he would talk about all the time where it's like, hey, it's Wild first, you second. And he pounded all these messages into the players, and some of the guys bought into it and some of the guys didn't. Again, I think that's part of what the problem in the room was. Not everybody bought into that messaging. Now everybody there has no choice but to be bought in. And Dean may change a little bit. And I don't think that's going to be for the worse. I think it will be for the better. I think at times last year he'd let things slip, and he has a really good feel for motivating guys. And I think the new wave of coaches, it's not tell somebody they're playing bad and they're going to go prove to me that they're better. Dean's good at knowing when he's got to pat a guy on the back and how to get him playing again, because it's a new player now. It's not the old guy that says "F you, I'm going to show you." They need reinforcement and they need to feel a part of it, and it's a different coaching style. And Dean does a really good job walking that. And on the surface, I think the guys love playing for him because it is intense and he wants to win. But he doesn't lose his cool. He's composed. He speaks. He says the right things, and he's consistent. And then he jokes around with the guys.
I love they showed him. Did you see last night when Spurgeon gets the penalty? And I'm a really good lip reader. I'm a good parallel parker as well.
I saw that.
Yeah, I'm really good at parallel parking. I could be in the Olympics. But so Spurgeon gets the penalty, and I love when they cut to the coach right after the penalty, and he just goes, he's got the little Surface tablet or whatever he looks at, and he just goes, "It's a fucking hip check." That's all he did, a fucking hip check. That's
the other reason players love him. Is he's not. You see coaches sometimes like Tortorella. He'll shake his head and be mad. He's mad at the player, right? Dean's like, that's a hipper. That is a terrible call.
Yeah.
And that's his first instinct.
Is to defend the player.
Yes. That's my guy.
And you hear it. I mean, even they titled that episode Culture Matters or something like that, the first episode. So you can see even when Foligno was talking after he got introduced as an assistant captain, Dean could have wrote the script. I mean, what he's saying, it takes all of us, team first. So yeah, I think that's interesting to know though, because he just looks so fierce.
Yeah.
But he's on your side fierce. So he's like your cut man in the corner.
But again, I think that episode, and there's one soundbite, and we touched on it earlier, where Dean has an interaction with Kaprizov, and it's in his first practice, right?
Yeah.
He skates up to him.
You look fat.
You look fat.
I think he was serious, too.
He is serious, but he's joking.
But he's not.
Right.
And then Kaprizov right away, same weight as last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Because right away he's like, he's probably saying, you've been on the fishing boat a little while. I've got your Instagram.
Right.
You had yourself some fun, but now you're here.
Right. Exactly. And that's Dean's way, and he's really good at that. Like. And then Dean laughs it off, like, "No, you're not fat, but kind of."
Yeah. But also maybe.
But
also maybe you are the same weight as last year, but you might be better if you're 5 pounds less.
Right. So he's good like that, and he can diffuse situations and intense spots like that. So I think he's great.
I just love that the part of what I'm excited to watch change is just the culture of the Wild, even having that line in the video. There's a bunch of reasons maybe you wouldn't do that. He's your star player and getting called fat in 2021. Who knows what it's like we're starting to adopt the body language of a winning franchise.
Right. No, I agree.
What have you been seeing? You've been calling these games. What's kind of hot on your mind to talk about?
Well, let's talk about the beautiful babies.
Yeah.
Let's talk about them.
I'm very curious well, first of all, how many spots do we have? Will any of the children be staring at the pig next to Lake Superior for this 2-day bender that the team's going on?
Yeah, they will.
How many of them do they get to bring up there?
I think they can bring as many as they want. I think they reduced the roster to 26. So I think everybody here right now will be there. And it's a team building thing. And if you think at some point these young guys are going to be part of your team, you might as well have everybody introduce themselves to one another in a social setting like that right off the bat. So that transition from, if they do get sent to Iowa, coming back, they're a little bit more familiar with one another and a little bit more comfortable walking into a room with Foligno, Spurgeon, some of these guys, right? So I think they're all going to be there. I think I read somewhere along the line that Rossi's family's in town, so maybe he's not going to make it up there. But aside from that, I think all the guys here, all 26, will be there for sure.
So I watched last night. I haven't watched every game. My notes were, I thought Rossi stood out as a player that I think can help us more than we even know. It's almost like you don't know even what he just did, but when you rewind the tape, you see that he was the guy that started the play, or he was the guy that made the pass, or so he jumped out to me. Maybe he's not ready. I haven't seen all of his games, and so I'm not sure how he's been performing. But what do you notice about Rossi?
Yeah, I mean, I know he's good. He is good, and I think you're spot on. He does some of the stuff that isn't sexy, but that ultimately results in some chances and some goals. I mean, he was out there 3-on-3. This is the first game against St. Louis, the OT goal, and he makes a great play, lugging the mail up the ice. Gets some contact in the middle, protects the puck, takes it low, brings the guy with him, pulls up, drops it up, and then that's what created all the space. Now he gets the secondary assist on it, and nobody's like, "Wow, that play doesn't happen if Rossi doesn't make those plays in the middle of the ice." All they think about is Adam Beckman scores, Gordie Howe hat trick, right? But the hockey guys pay attention to that, and you're right. There's a lot of those plays for him. But then on the flip side of that, there's a lot of plays where he's trying some stuff, and we saw him get hit hard last night, real hard. And he's got some stuff to learn, and he's going to be good. But again, you look at the cap crunch next year and the following year, you really need that guy hitting his stride in those years probably more than you do this year. Not that money doesn't matter this year. I mean, it still does. But my point is, you need value in those years. And if you can get a young guy at a cheap contract playing huge minutes and being great at that time, it's more valuable to the organization than him being pretty good this year. So I think it's going to take him some time. He's going to be good, but he can be great. And I think that you have to be careful that you go through the process appropriately so that he can become great and you don't stop him at being just good.
Yep. So let's talk about Beckman. So he also blew up my group text, okay, because of the Gordie Howe hat trick, the choosing to fight down 3-0. It's like a Max Talbot special, and getting your ass kicked.
Right.
Coming back, winning the game, something stuck up your nose, couple stitches. He reminds me of the guy when you play beer league and you got the young kid that plays with you.
Yeah.
And you ask him what he did this weekend and you're living vicariously. I mean, damn, did he seem like a likable, just like I'd actually like to billet him too, just for, just to make myself feel younger.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was fun. It's fun to watch him score because now I'm excited to see what he's going to do after. Like his celebration was unbelievable.
So he shook his hand.
Yeah.
And then he went like this.
That speaks volumes to me.
What does that mean?
Don't know. And we tried to ask him and he's like, "Oh, it's an inside joke." Boom. Hard up like this. And he's laughing,
So I need to know about the inside joke. You got connections.
So I don't know if it was an elbow kind of thing or like, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, we could probably get to the bottom of it for sure. But the point is, he's out there 3-on-3 with a couple of guys, and he's throwing out celebrations based on inside jokes. It is not customary for a 20-year-old kid, one, to have the confidence to make a play like that in overtime, 3-on-3 in a big spot after getting his ass kicked, right? And then to have inside jokes. You're just trying to like get noticed.
He's in the moment.
Yeah.
He's in love. It's like we used to always say, if you're playing for each other, you're going to be good. I mean, that's a guy that's playing for each other. He's not thinking about the two people up in the press box writing notes about him.
No.
He's like, hey, here, remember the elbow thing from the hotel last night?
Yeah. Maybe he's picking.
It's like high school hockey.
Maybe he's picking Spurgey up from Billy G, kind of giving him, no, you're wrong, Spurge. Like maybe Beckman's like, I got your back, Spurge. We are having fun. Boom, throwing up the elbow. But no, he's good. And then getting your butt kicked. It sucks, right? And but it speaks volumes to just show up. Right.
And they asked him, they said, part of the reason you fought, trying to get something. Well, I think they asked him if it was to get noticed. And his answer was more like, there wasn't really anything going on. We're down 3-0. And I decided to do it. And then he kind of quickly realized when it started that he might have picked the wrong dance partner because he really got tuned.
Yeah. No, I don't know.
Where does this kid come from, by the way? So I know all these guys, Boldy, Boston College, can he play center, blah, blah, blah. Rossi's a big prospect. I don't, where did this guy, what's his background?
Saskatchewan. He's a Canadian kid from Saskatchewan. He's 20 years old.
Did we draft him?
Yeah, we drafted him. Okay. So, again, so we remember Paul Fenton, and everybody kind of is like, yeah, the Paul Fenton era was a disaster. It was like...
Even though he got Fiala and probably drafted all these guys.
Yeah, it was like a nightmare, right? And everybody's like, this is terrible. He actually did some good stuff. But if you go back to the draft that year, it was like, people were like, oh my gosh, he's letting his son PJ run the draft. Like, he's never done this before. But PJ Fenton in the third round says, I like this guy. Minnesota had already had their pick. They're like, I want him. Let's trade for him. So they flipped their 2020 third round pick to make sure that they can get Beckman in this spot. They want him.
Did he play in the CHL, or where was he? What's his background?
Yeah, I think he played in the OHL. I'd have to double check. But yeah, for sure he played in the CHL. But he had scored and he was good. And I think he maybe even led the league in scoring. So how he slipped to the third round, I'm not sure. Sometimes they don't love these overagers, so maybe he was older. But anyways, the Wild trade up, get rid of the 2020 third round pick to make sure they can get him in 2019. And boom, great pick, because look at him now. He's making an impression.
So beautiful babies. Beckman, Rossi, Boldy, Addison, Duheim, who scored the other night as well. Let's talk about this season specifically, 21-22. Of that bucket of 5 babies in the nursery, who helps us the most this season? Who are the couple guys you think are more regulars this season?
Okay, good question. I think Duhaime plays right away. I mean, you look at contracts, and Dean has talked about this quite a bit, that guys get it. They look at it. If you look at the contracts above you, Kalen Addison played pretty well, but he's got 7 one-ways ahead of him. It's going to be tough.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough. That doesn't mean no, but it likely means not right now. And that's the case for a lot of these guys now too. Rem Pitlick getting picked up off of waivers. That takes a roster spot. He's got to be on the roster a minimum of 30 days. That's the rule now. So he takes a roster spot. So that leaves maybe one more for one of the beautiful babies. And I think it's Duhaime. I think he's going to fit well. I think he's going to play a 4th line role.
He'll play with
Sturm.
Okay.
I think he'll play with Sturm. That's where I think it ultimately settles. But I think it's going to be him. With that said, I think all those guys play games this year. I think they find a way to get these guys some experience with the big club. And whether that means let's say, and even if that means the Wild don't have a single injury all year and everybody's healthy, I still think they find ways to get these guys games, because I think the way they've played, they've earned some games and a chance.
Awesome. What's on your list? Anything I missed, or you want to play cards with carts?
Let's play cards with carts. Well, and then we'll get into the start of the season, then we'll wrap it.
So what we're going to do here, for listeners, I'll do this quickly because it won't be as interesting if you're only doing audio. I got 4 packs of hockey cards here, fresh from Target. By the way, you got to basically fight a mom to buy hockey cards nowadays at the store. It's just gone crazy with the pandemic. I didn't fight a mom, though. But
I was going to say, how'd you do?
We're going to open, better than Beckman, we're going to open one of these and just talk about what's in there. Now, if we get a Wild player, until we record again, you should expect that player to just go on a heater.
Really?
Yeah, this is like a tarot card.
Okay.
It's like flipping over a Goligoski is like, whoa. And we're gonna keep track of it. See how right. So you pick the pack.
All right, so just pick one.
Yep, any of them. I want it to be all kind of by the force of nature. So you pick one.
I'm going with the first one.
Okay, we're putting these away for
this is a fat pack of cards too.
Okay.
Is this like the jersey pack? You know how some of the cards have like a little piece of jersey on them?
Well, the hot card you want is Young Guns, because those are the rookies. I'll give you half and I'll do half, and
we're just going to rip through them.
Yeah, we're going to go quick, maybe talk about a player or two and see which Wild guys we get.
So are there going to be rookies or no?
Yeah, if you get rookies, it's a big deal, though, because they're rare. So a guy like Carell is going to be harder for him to get the luck of the cards with carts. So I'm going to do mine super fast. I don't know. Guy in Detroit, can't pronounce his name. Owen Tippett. Jordan Kairu. Whenever this guy plays, I think of that show Caillou, the little kid cartoon. Bothers me. Just saying.
I don't know who that is.
Drake Kagugulada, Victor Hedman, Justin Dowling, Patty Kane, Tyler Sagan, Jay Beagle, Cedric Paquette, Matt Nieto, Ville Hiso, Thomas Grice. That's a terrible pack of hockey cards if you're a collector, and no wild players. Go.
So you don't like those?
Nothing really.
There's one I like in here. Alexander Romanov, no idea. And then there's Nate Schmidt. I really like Nate Schmidt.
He's a joyful young man.
Kasperi Kapanen.
We need a wild player.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
be concerned.
I think you're going to like that one. Well, in terms of the value return.
Connor McDavid. He's good.
McJesus. Torrey Krug. Dylan Gambrell. These are kind of fancy cards.
Cards are awesome.
Tomas Hertl. Derek Stepan. Another one. Hashtag one of us.
Get a wild.
Andreas Janssen. Trevor Van Riemsdyk. Come on, we need a wild guy. Wow, Leon, we got the 1-2 punch in Edmonton.
Draisaitl.
Leon Draisaitl, James Reimer. And last but not least, we did get
Ian Cole.
Damn it. The cool thing is it's in the reverse retro jersey. It's in the reverse retro.
Okay, so maybe it's a muddy track for the start of the season for the Wild. I don't. Okay.
So the hope was that we were going to draw a wild guy and he's going to go on a heater right off the bat.
Yeah, and in the future, maybe we can. I don't know. This may not stick as a piece of content, but it could. There could be some stories of the guys in the packs, but that was pretty tough sledding.
Yeah, it was.
The only thing I'll say, Patty Kane. I think Chicago's going to be really good this year.
Yeah,
really good. With Fleury and Jones and Tays back and Kane and DeBrincat and Kirby Doc. And you saw it last night. They didn't bring anybody, but they were still hanging around. Doc's a really nice player. He was hurt. Seth Jones on the back end. I think it's going to be, Norris division with Chicago this year. It's going to be fun watching them. Yeah.
So I said this last night on the broadcast. This actually falls into the category of like the why we're trying to get out or the mold we're trying to break with this podcast. I couldn't help but have this thought. We haven't played Chicago in 611 days.
I heard you say that's nuts.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. We battled them for like a decade all the time. Like that was the game that you circled. And now we've gone 600 days without playing them. And go figure, during that stretch is when Jonathan Taves sits out an entire season with some type of ailment, right?
He was probably just watching game tape on the Wild.
So we don't get to beat up on Chicago without Taves, without these guys, when we've got a strong club, Kaprizov.
They're full strength again, I think.
Yeah, no, they are. And that's where it's like, okay, let's break the mold. It's not like, why me? Don't feel bad for ourselves that now we got to face another good Chicago that they had to reload. But you're right. I think they're going to be good. The question mark I do have for them is in net. And Marc-Andre Fleury, I feel bad for the guy. Like, he wins a Vezina. How often? I don't think this has ever happened where you win a Vezina trophy and you get traded for a bag of pucks. Like we just want you gone. You won the Vezina, but we just want you gone.
And you find out about it on Twitter. Yeah,
that's never happened before. So then he goes to Chicago. They say he's the best, maybe one of the best team guys that's ever played. But you can't help but think, like, is the guy's heart still in it? He's a family guy. He's kind of been dealt a crappy hand. He wins cups in Pitt, goes to Vegas, plays unbelievable. But for some reason, there's always like a new shiny toy that somebody picks over him. And I think, despite the fact that he plays well, he gets looked over, and now he's in Chicago. He's like, okay, is he going to play spirited hockey?
With the old dogs in that room. Patty Kane, Tays. I mean, there's that's Ocean's 11 when you open the door. I mean, he's not going to not show up with that gang.
Right.
So you want to finish start of the season. Walk us through, I think we probably record after the home opener next. So we'll maybe record that week after the opener. So what are you seeing with the West Coast swing? A little bit of drinking up in Duluth.
Yeah,
Talk me through the start.
Well, let's get into the technical stuff real quick. So there's going to be some angry people. as we approach the regular season, there's going to be some broadcast terrorism right off the bat. I think Wild fans should be prepared. I just want to get the word out, if possible, that the season opener is going to be tough to watch. It's not on Bally. It's a national game, so TNT owns it, but they're not putting it on their regular channels. So if you subscribe or if you have Direct TV or somehow watch ESPN, it won't be on, and you have to subscribe to their streaming platform, ESPN Plus. So you got to pay the $5 or $6 a month to be able to watch our first game of the season, which is a kick in the groin.
Good news, I do subscribe. And each month when I see that bill, when I'm doing I call it doing my budget, but all I do is keep track of where I spent money, which I don't think don't think that's a budget. But now I'll be able to use it, and that sounds like I will be one of the people not shaking my fist in the air opening night.
Yeah. Well, can you share your password on the podcast right now? Maybe everybody can log in.
We'll tweet it out. I don't know how many people can log in.
Oh, just max it out.
All right, I'll share it. We'll put that on Stanley on 7th. I'll try to do my login.
You're one of those guys that just signs up for subscriptions and then just leaves them in there like subscription skeletons on the
So you're right. Card. So it'll be like Boston College is playing Virginia Tech. The only place you can watch it is Hulu 7, and it's $4.99. And I'll buy it, or it'll be a free trial. I'll watch the first season of Ted Lasso in 24 hours and try to cancel, but I forget. And then a buddy told me the best way out of that is you cancel your credit card, and then every single one of those subscriptions pings, and you can just decide if you actually want them or not.
So you just delete the hard drive, go nuclear.
Yeah, I'm carrying a lot of, what do they call those things that wreck lakes that get on your boat?
Zebra mussels?
So basically, I have all over my phone zebra mussel subscriptions that I've
cutting into your wallet.
That I've just so sharp. No aqua socks, just killing me. But yeah, let's have a little ESPN. Maybe I'll get one of those cords to throw it on my TV.
Yeah,
and we'll get a group out.
Yeah.
The 20 people that watched our YouTube last time can all come over. I actually could have them all in my basement.
Dude, I'm one of those guys that's a cord cutter, but it doesn't save you money at all, because eventually I start signing up for more and more. I think I've got Hulu, Disney, Amazon, Netflix, across the board, you name it, right? And every month, I bet you I'm spending more than I care to know about on streaming services. I might have to go nuclear and just... But then there's nothing worse. I don't know if you have Roku TV. Do you have Roku TV?
So I'm old. I do cable, Xfinity, full boat, and I buy a bunch of subscriptions.
Okay. I've got Roku TV, and the remote is absolutely terrible. So like data, like if you have to put like your password in, it's like over, down, enter.
No. Contra.
Oh, it takes forever.
Left, right, yeah, exactly. Up, down.
Select start.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
So give us your prediction out of the gates, what you think we're going to see, what we want to see, and we'll wrap up.
Yeah, the season, like from the team perspective, or how they're going to get out of the gate?
No, just the first week or so, because we'll be recording after that. So West Coast swing, coming home. What are we looking for? What do you think those games will be like?
Yeah, okay. The West Coast swing, I think, will be successful. You've got Anaheim, you got a feast. They did a good job beating the teams that they needed to beat last year, and then actually part of the reason they were so successful is they could compete with the good teams, but they took care of business against the teams that they needed to. That's Anaheim. Anaheim, I think, could be battling for the worst team in the NHL between them and Buffalo.
Yeah, Buffalo's not even in the upper deck set this year. They took them out.
Yeah, Buffalo. So it's not even an NHL team now?
No, I don't think so.
They went expansion. They got Seattle, but then they lost Buffalo.
They were relegated.
But so I think they beat Anaheim. LA is going to be a better team. I think that's going to be a battle. I don't know. That might be the season opener for LA. I don't know if they play on Friday night. I can't imagine they do. The only one they'd probably play is San Jose. I don't think they're starting a back-to-back, but I could check that. So you might be getting a fresh team at home. 2 home openers. And the Kings are going to be good this year, I think, a lot better than last year. But then eventually they come home, they got Winnipeg, and then back out west. So they'll get a chance to see Seattle early. We'll get a chance to see Seattle early. But I think there's a chance the Wild, they could get off to a hot start, and then they're off to the races.
I hope so. Let's go for 2-1 or 3-0, and let's get back to winning hockey the way it should be.
You know why they're here?
To fucking win.
To win.
All right, this is Stanley on 7th, your favorite Wild podcast. We're here till it's here.